All right, turn to Psalm 54. Psalm 54, verse 1. It says, "Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O God, give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set God before them, Selah. Behold, God is mine helper. Jehovah Adonai is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies, cut them off in thy truth. I will freely sacrifice unto thee. I will praise thy name, O Jehovah, for it is good. For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye hath seen his desire upon mine enemies." All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Yeshua, I just come to you this afternoon and I pray, Jehovah Yeshua, that you bless this message. I pray you fill me with your Ruach Kodesh and bless everyone that hears this message, Jehovah. I pray you encourage your saints. I pray you strengthen that which is weak and about to perish, Jehovah, in the church, in the true congregation, Jehovah, the true saints that call upon thee in sincerity and truth, the true brethren, Jehovah, those who are made partakers of that heavenly covenant and have sealed it unto thee, to the testimony and to the Torah, Jehovah, I pray. And I pray you bless today mightily, Yeshua. Use it for your glory, I pray, Yeshua, in thy precious name. So be it. So Psalm 54, just another psalm that talks about the enemies, that talks about salvation, that where David, the psalmist, is calling out, "Save me, O God, by thy name." Okay? His name is Jehovah. Yad-He, Vav-He. His name, he came in his own name, Yeshua, meaning Yah's salvation. Alright? He says, "Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength." Alright? We looked at that word last week. We looked at other words. And this word strength here is Gabura. Gabura. He is El Gibor. Alright? The God of strength. And then it says there, verse 2, "Hear my prayer, O God, O Elohim. Give ear to the words of my mouth." Listen to what he says. "For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set God before them, Selah." Think about it. Think about what he's saying here. Strangers are risen up against me. Alright? The stranger, zur. In Hebrew it's zur. Or crooked, estranged, not genuine. They're alien. They're enemies. They're false. "For strangers are risen up against me." They're not true. They're not true brethren. They're not true people. They're not true saints of the Most High. Alright? What do these strangers do? They rise up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. Alright? They're here to destroy you. And every psalm, like I said, a third of the psalms or more is about the enemies. Alright? Listen to verse 5. "He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth." Destroy them. Don't let the enemies attack you. Alright? You guys remember my message on Nehemiah? Nehemiah never took an offense. He repaid it. He brought just retribution upon his enemies. Alright? David here is praying, "He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth." Okay? We have power over all the power of the enemy. Over the serpents. Okay? What did Yeshua say to the scribes and Pharisees? O ye serpents, you are of your father, the devil. The lust of your father will ye do. He was a liar from the beginning and a murderer, and he abode not in the truth. Okay? They abide not in the truth. They're a stranger. They're an alien. They're not genuine. They're crooked. They're the crooked serpent. Okay? They're zur. In Armenian, zur, it actually means crooked. Zur. Same word in Hebrew. Zur. Crooked. It's estranged. It's taken another shape. It's another form. They have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. Great swelling words, having men's person and admiration to gain an advantage. These are what does Peter say? These are spots in your feasts as they feast with you, foaming out their own shame, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shames, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. All right? These are the strangers. They offer strange fire, just like Cain. He offered a strange offering. Jehovah rejected it. He rejected it. It comes out of their own hearts, comes out of their own minds, their own will. Okay? God rejects it. He says, it's not of me. Jehovah's the one that kindles the fire. He's the one that brought down the fire and consumed the sacrifice. He's the one that says, I'll put my candlestick. He's the one that walks among the churches, the true ones that have the true candlestick, the true power, the true authority in the earth. But there are millions and millions of fakes. There's millions and millions of tares out there who try to blend in and try to become a sheep. But really they're wolves in sheep's clothing. You shall know them by their fruits, Yeshua said. All right? The tares will be gathered together, and they'll be bound hand and foot and to be burned. All right? He says here in Psalm 54, for strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. There's so many Levinites, so many things that come in, and just one little word, one little strange doctrine, one little twist here, one little twist there, and they've already contaminated you. A little leaveneth the whole lump. It's why you go back to the foundation and you cut everything off and you lay a stone for the foundation. All right, we're going to talk about that. All right. He says here in verse 7, for he hath delivered me out of all trouble. We've been talking about this. And mine eye has seen his desire upon mine enemies. Listen, when your eye sees its desire upon your enemies, then you know you're blessed. Then you know Jehovah Yeshua is with you. So when you see it, rejoice. All right? I just read a verse. It says, mine eye shall see something of the destruction of my enemies, and the saints shall fear. And then it says, and they shall laugh. Okay? You will have victory over the enemies. Alright? He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Jehovah shall have them in derision. These people are so confused. They are so confounded. They're in derision. And that's what you see, and that's what I see. And that's where I rejoice, knowing that Jehovah is with his saints. He's with the true congregation, the church, the true church. Okay? The ones that hold the seat. All right? The rock. They're founded upon a rock. And they're unmovable. All right? Last Sabbath, we covered Psalm 46. Turn back to Psalm 46. All right, before that, all right, verse 7 says, for he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye hath seen his desire upon mine enemies. All right, turn to Genesis chapter 22. Genesis chapter 22. Look at verse 17 or 15. It says, and the angel of Jehovah called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, by myself have I sworn, saith Jehovah, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee. Listen what he's blessing Abraham with. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. This is where, in Galatians, Apostle Paul says, Abraham received Christ, Messiah, in a figure. Okay? Here's the gospel. He offers his only begotten son, the son of promise. Okay? Knowing that, believing that God is able to raise him from the dead. Jehovah calls out to him, and he says in verse 17, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed, and we are the children of Abraham through faith, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. We have power over the enemies. I tried to explain that. The exousia, the authority, the ecclesia. We're called the ecclesia, the church. We have authority. Okay? We can possess the gate of the enemy. No power, the enemy has any power over us. They try to usurp it. They try to make a facade out of it. Okay? Like the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Strength. There's no strength on that wizard. He is none. No strength. He's a liar. Okay? No power. Alright, turn back to Psalm 46:1. We covered this last Sabbath. Psalm 46:1. Okay? Look at verse 1. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Okay? Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Selah. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The nations raged, and the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, and the earth melted. Alright? Jehovah Tsabaoth is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. He is our refuge. Alright? Jehovah Tsabaoth is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That's whom we worship. That's who Jehovah, this family of the earth, from the seed of Noah to the seed of Shem, he called down Terah's son Abraham. He refused the false religions of this day, the false gods of false idols. God called him. He's a believer in Yeshua. That's the true faith. There's only been one faith. And look at the blessings he's promised Abraham and to his seed. Those like Abraham. Those who have found faith in Yeshua HaMashiach throughout the ages. Did Abraham ever lose a battle? Huh? They never lost a battle. When they were doing right, did the children of Israel ever lose a battle? They never lost a battle. They never lost a fight. The kingdom was theirs forever if they would only obey the voice and keep the commandments. Alright? They're written, these things are written for our learning. Alright? In verse 7 it says, Jehovah Tsabaoth is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. God is our refuge and strength. All right? In Psalm 54 it says, for he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eyes shall see his desire upon mine enemies. In Psalm 46:1 it says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Okay? God is our refuge and strength. He saves us in times of trouble. All right? Turn to Isaiah chapter 4. Isaiah chapter 4. And look at verse 4. When Jehovah shall have washed away the filth of the daughter of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof, by the spirit of judgment, and by the spirit of burning. And Jehovah will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies a cloud, and a smoke by day. Alright? He creates a cloud and a smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. Remember the pillar of the cloud and the pillar of the day. Remember that. For upon all the glory shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from rain. Notice that the tabernacle is the place of refuge. It's the place where the pillar of the cloud by fire and the by night and a cloud by day was upon the tabernacle, the most holy place. All right. Verse 4. He says, when Jehovah shall wash away the filth of the daughter of Zion, and shall purge the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. What does King David pray in Psalm 54:1? Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me. Judge me by thy strength. All right? Jehovah shall purge the blood of Jerusalem in the midst thereof, from the midst thereof, by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. What did John the Baptist say about Yeshua? His fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor. Is the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning. John the Baptist says, I baptize you with water, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose. He shall baptize you with fire. All right? Whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor. He's going to burn out the chaff. He's going to burn out the strangers. Okay? The fakes, the crooked, the zur. He's going to purge them out. When you get to the last days, there's a gathering together of the saints, and there's the wheat, and there's a gathering together of the tares. He will separate them. The sheep and the goats. Alright? For he knows them that are his. He's going to shake it. The scripture says, and all throughout prophecy says, I'll once more shake not the earth only, but also the heavens. Okay? Psalm 46 talks about that. We talked about how that's a reference to Revelation when the mountains shake. Alright? Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Selah. He's going to shake the world. He's going to sift it. Alright? And there shall be a tabernacle, Isaiah 4, verse 6, for a shadow in the daytime from heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from rain. The tabernacle is the place of refuge. The tabernacle is also the place of the Ark of the Covenant. Remember that. Inside the Ark of the Covenant was what? The testimony, the stone of witness. All right? We've been covering about his protection in the tabernacle. Back in February 18, we covered Psalm 27. Turn back to Psalms. Go to Psalm 27. We covered this verse about a month ago. All right? Psalm 27. Verse 4. It says, "One thing have I desired of Jehovah, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Jehovah all the days of my life." Remember this verse. "To behold the beauty of Jehovah, to inquire in his temple. For in time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock." In his tabernacle there is refuge in the time of trouble. There is there's the Ark of the Covenant. There is the secret of his pavilion, his tabernacle. He shall hide me. He shall set me upon a rock. All right? The rock. We covered Ephesians chapter 2, verse 6. And he hath raised us up together and made us sit in heavenly places in Christ Yeshua. Right? For your life, for your identity, your life is now hid in Christ. And when he shall appear, we shall appear with him in glory. All right? The great congregation. The secret of his tabernacle. All right? This is the most holy place. The most holy place. No strangers can enter in. Okay? The priest, he couldn't just come and walk in the most holy place. He had to be sanctified. We've covered this. He had to be washed. Not just the filthiness of the flesh, but also of the spirit. Okay? You become, for in verse 5, Psalm 27 says, "For in time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock." Wonder what rock that is. Selah. He's going to hide us. We're seated in heavenly places in Christ Yeshua. We're in the secret of his tabernacle. Shall he hide me? No strangers can enter in. What does Yeshua say? "Many shall come to me in that day and say, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? In thy name done many wonderful works and cast out devils." Okay? And done all these things. Then Yeshua will say unto them, "Depart from me, I never knew you." When you don't know someone, that means you're a stranger. Okay? What does Psalm 54 verse 3 say? "For strangers are risen up against me." Yeshua will say to them, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. You're a stranger." And who rises up against Yeshua? Who are the same people that keep rising up over and over and over against Yeshua? The scribes and the Pharisees. The same people. What does Yeshua say? "You shall in no wise enter in." You're not going to be going into the tabernacle. You're not even going to go into the gates. You will not enter in by any way but the blood of Yeshua. His sacrifice. "Gather my saints together, those that have bound themselves to the covenant by sacrifice." The sacrifice of Yeshua. Abraham bound himself to Yeshua by sacrifice. That is through faith. And he became a partaker of the promise. He goes promised protection. He was promised that he would possess, that he'd be blessed, and that he would possess the gates of his enemies. The same blessings and the same promises upon Yeshua's church, his congregation, his ecclesia. No strangers can enter in. Yeshua says, "Depart from me, I never knew you." In the most holy place is the Ark of the Covenant. Inside the Ark is the stone of witness, the Torah, the 10 Commandments. All right? Isaiah 4:6 speaks of this tabernacle like future for a place of refuge. It's in future tense. Turn to Revelation chapter 21. Okay? Revelation chapter 21. From beginning to ending, look at what it says. Okay? If you understand, behold, God says, I lay in Zion. Okay? Revelation 21 verse 1 says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men." The tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. What were those verses we covered last week? Jehovah Tzebaoth is with us. Apostle Paul says, if God be with us, who can be against us? Okay? And God himself shall be with them and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death. That's the curse of death. Neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I'm Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. Listen, he that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. He that overcometh shall inherit all things. What was the promises of Abraham? Thy seed shall be as the stars of heaven, as the sand of the sea. You inherit all things. Okay? But the fearful, and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Alright? And then he goes and he sees the great city, the 12 gates. Okay? The 12 gates have 12 foundations. Alright? The tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. Go back to Psalm 27. Psalm 27. Let's look at verse 4 again. One thing have I desired of Jehovah, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Jehovah all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Jehovah, to inquire in his temple. All the days of his life to dwell in the house of Jehovah. For in time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock. Alright, we've been studying about the rock for foundation. We've been studying the foundation of our faith. And every time I want to go on to something else, the Holy Spirit keeps giving me more and more. All right, last Sabbath we read Revelation 12:10. All right, keep your hand here in Psalm and go back to Revelation chapter 12. We covered this verse last Sabbath, last Shabbat. Revelation 12. Let's look at verse 10. It says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night." Okay? Look at verse 11. "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death." Keep your hand there and go back to Revelation 21. Verse 7. It says, "He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son." When Abraham went to offer up Isaac, even unto death, he believed he can overcome. Okay? That's the faith of Abraham. "He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son." Go back to Revelation chapter 12, verse 10. All right? "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength." Gabura, strength. Exousia, and the authority and power. And the kingdom of our God, and the exousia, or power of his Christ. "For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night." Okay? This is a future prophecy. "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb." We have power over Satan and the enemies, the strangers. "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death." Okay? How do you overcome? By the blood of the Lamb and by the word of Yeshua, by the word of their testimony. How did Yeshua teach? He taught with exousia. We read this one verse and other couple verses where they marveled at Yeshua, for he taught them as one having power and not as the scribes. The same word. "Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power, exousia, of his Messiah." The word, Yeshua's word, is with power. And how do we overcome? By the word of our testimony. How does God save? By the foolishness of preaching. "Unto them that perish, the preaching is foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of God, unto salvation, to all that believe and call upon him out of a true heart." The word of their testimony. The word is with power. Exousia, exua. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeshua taught with power. The testimony and the Torah gives witness and power. All right? Turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. We covered this verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Verse 1. "Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud Which cloud? We've talked about that cloud, the pillar of the cloud. All our followers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. And were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And did all eat the same spiritual meat. And did all drink the same spiritual drink. Okay? Stop right there. What did Yeshua say? Unless ye eat my flesh and drink my blood, ye have no life within you. And it says, many of the disciples turned away from that time, and they followed no more. For it's a hard saying. But what did Yeshua say? My flesh is indeed meat, and my blood is indeed drink. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, and they are life. It's a spiritual food. It's a spiritual drink. When do you do this? You do this the Last Supper, all right? It signifies something that we're going to cover coming up. But go back here to 1 Corinthians and listen to what he says. And we're going to get to the part I want to keep going on. It says, moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat. What were they eating? And did all drink the same spiritual drink. What were they drinking? For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Messiah. Okay? The rock. We've been covering about the rock. I've mentioned it, and I keep mentioning over and over. In the tabernacle of refuge, the tabernacle of God, the true tabernacle in the heavens, where God's throne is at, the mercy seat and the ark, what is in there is the rock. Okay? Is the rock. And that rock is Messiah. What does Messiah mean? It means the anointed one. The anointed one. Christos. Christ. He's anointed. The rock is anointed. We worship Christ. We're Christians. Okay? Taking you to the foundation of the faith. It's all part of the eternal gospel. Okay? This is all gospel from Genesis to Revelation. It's all. What did Yeshua say? You search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. But they are they which testify of me. Okay? If you would have believed Moses and his words, if you believe not Moses and his words, how you believe my sayings? For Moses wrote of me, Christ, Messiah. And did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Listen, the enemies are cut off, just like Psalm 54 says. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies, cut them off in thy truth. They were what? They were cut off. They were destroyed. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown, cut off, destroyed in the wilderness. Now these things were examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur, yea, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happen unto them for example, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore, here's a warning, let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may able to bear it. Okay? Then he talks about the cup of blessing, the bread and the communion of the body. We'll cover that later. Okay? The word is with power. And they did all drink that same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was Christ. That rock was Messiah. Turn to Genesis chapter 28. Genesis chapter 28. Let's start in verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place, and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place. We covered this. That place, a certain place. Don't miss it. And lay down his head in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. Yeshua says, greater things than these ye shall see. You shall see the angels of God, heaven, or angels of God, ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Okay? Verse 13, and behold, Jehovah stood above it. Above the ladder, Jehovah stands upon it. Apostle Stephen, right before he was stoned, looks up to heaven, says, behold, Messiah standing at the right hand of God. And these strangers rose up upon Stephen, and they killed him. Okay? And behold, Jehovah stood above it and said, I am Jehovah Elohim of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land wherein thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. We were strangers and aliens from the covenant, but now we're adopted as the sons and daughters of God. You're no longer a stranger. Okay? Verse 15, and behold, I am with thee. If God be for us, who can be against us? And I will keep thee, watch over thee in all places whither thou goest, and I will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken of thee. What did Yeshua say? Go ye into all nations, commanding and teaching them to obey all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you even unto the end of the world, the end of the age, the Ion. Okay? And I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken unto thee. Yeshua never, ever breaks his word. Never. Till today, his words, till the foundation, the rock, till today, it's all happening and will happen. And look at verse 16. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely Jehovah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place! This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. The house of God, the gate of heaven. Bethel, the house of God, this is the gate of heaven. Okay, remember this verse. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillows and set up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. Okay? And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, I will give him and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I will come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall Jehovah be my Elohim. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. Listen what he says in verse 22. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house. What did he do with that stone that he set up for a pillar? He pours oil upon the top of it. Oil on the stone. Isn't that strange? It's strange. We just read that verse for that rock that followed him, and that rock was Christ. What does Christ mean? He means anointed. Okay? He means the anointed one. So here's Jacob, beginning of his faith, doesn't really have faith, but he believes the word of the testimony of God. And he has verification because the Holy Spirit's shown him the truth. And he's doing things prophetically. Okay? By grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. It's a gift. Alright? When your calling and election, you make it sure. God will show you his salvation. Alright? He'll pour the Holy Spirit upon you. That's what a Christian is. You have the Holy Spirit poured upon you and in you. Alright, let's keep going. So here's the stone, that rock that followed him is Christ. And here Jacob, he takes of the stone, sets it up for a pillar, and pours oil upon it. Turn to Genesis 31. All right, this is a pillar that Jacob does for witness. All right, let's turn to Genesis chapter 49. Genesis chapter 49. And look at verse 22. It says, Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him, and shot at him, and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. By the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Okay, remember that. even by the God of thy father who shall help thee, and by the Almighty who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. He was separated. He was separated to a point that he became a stranger to his brethren. When his brethren come back, they didn't recognize Joseph in Egypt. He was a stranger to them. And in Joseph, knowing that Jehovah had blessed them and used the situation to save life, to save his family, he tested the brethren. He tried the brethren to see if they had changed, to see what was in their heart, until he knew that they were true. Okay? Joseph was a believer in Jehovah the whole time. His brethren at first, they were wicked. They were strangers. So he hid himself from them. Doesn't Yeshua do that? He hides himself. Unto the merciful, Yeshua says, I will be merciful. Okay? To the unmerciful, he'll become unmerciful. A person who rejects the Holy Spirit, rejects Christ, guess what? They become estranged. They become zur. They become crooked. They become alien. They become deformed. Okay? They become an enemy. What did Apostle Paul say? These scribes and Pharisees, they are enemies for the gospel's sake. They're estranged. They who had all the promises, they who was given unto them the oracles of God, they to whom were the covenants, okay, and the sacrifices and everything, they now become the stranger by unbelief. Listen to what Jacob is saying and blessing his sons with. Verse 24 says, but his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Jacob is saying this. Jacob is the one who's talking about the stone of Israel. I'm telling you, at first, I don't think Jacob knew what he was saying. I don't think Jacob knew what he was doing. When he sees the vision of the ladder to heaven and the angels ascending and descending upon it and Jehovah standing there, see, he received grace to believe. You're saved by grace. God has to give you faith. God has to give you his salvation. He has to show you. He works a work in you. It's not of yourselves. It's nothing that you're going to go and work your way to heaven or think your way to heaven or read the scripture and just be smart and figure it out and pass a test. It has to come from the heart. So here's Jacob, who's fleeing his brother. He's going to Haran, on his way to Haran. He comes to a certain place and a certain time. I'm going to say a certain time. It all coincides. There's a day of salvation. That was the day of salvation for Jacob. And in that day, Jacob, he's given the gospel in the figure. Jehovah says, I blessed Abraham and Isaac. And he's renewing the covenant with Jacob now unto the third and fourth generation, because he'll bless Abraham onto the third and fourth generation. And so what does Jacob do? He takes a stone that is headed was for a pillow, and he anoints it. He puts oil upon it. Okay? That stone that he anoints, he says, from thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. So by this time, by the day that Jacob is dying, now he's an old man, he's dying, about 150 years old. He knows who that stone is. See, we're talking about a stone, and you're like, what? I don't get it. Well, I don't expect you to get much. All right? But by the time Jacob dies, he's saying, from thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. He knows the rock that he anointed, Messiah, pouring oil. Maschil is anointing the oil. That's what Messiah means, the anointed one. He knows that what the Holy Spirit had him do as right before he got saved, or as he's getting saved, that stone is symbolic of Jehovah, because he's seen him. Just like Adam and Eve, seen Yeshua. So don't tell me Adam and Eve didn't believe in Yeshua when Yeshua walked with him in the garden. Don't tell me that Noah didn't believe in Yeshua when Jehovah himself closed the door of the ark. Don't tell me Shem didn't know either, because he was alive there too. Don't tell me Abraham didn't meet Shem, because they were alive during the same time. So Abraham's alive. By the word of their testimony, Isaac's alive. That's your dad. Now he's believing the testimony of his father, going all the way back to the everlasting gospel. Jacob knows something about Yeshua. And he's prophesying here of his sons. And he's saying of Joseph and of Israel, from thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Okay? Who is the shepherd? Yeshua says, I am the shepherd. What did the Apostle Paul say? They all drank of that same spiritual drink and of that same spiritual rock that followed them. For that rock was Christ, the stone of Israel. Okay? Why is Yeshua referenced as a stone? Well, we've been covering this verse for months. What is the promise? Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone. He'll be for a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel. I lay in Zion a stone. What is that stone? It's Yeshua HaMashiach, the anointed one. Okay, let's keep going. The mighty God of Jacob. Jacob anoints the stone. He sets it up for a pillar. Okay, he calls the name of that place Beth-El, the house. Bet-El, the house of God. Turn to 1 Timothy chapter 3. Again, we've covered these verses. 1 Timothy chapter 3. Verse 14. These things write I unto thee, hoping to come unto thee shortly. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself in the house of God, in Bet-El, the house of God, which is the church, the ecclesia of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. The pillar and ground of the truth. Remember the pillar. Remember the rock. Okay? The house of God is the pillar and ground of the truth. Verse 16. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh. In other words, God became flesh. That's what Jacob saying when he's dying, from thence is the shepherd of Israel. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Okay? God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached on to the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. How did Yeshua go back into heaven? He went back up in the cloud. The cloud arose. We read there in Revelation, the tabernacle of God is with men. The tabernacle comes down to the earth. What's in the tabernacle? The rock. Yeshua descends. Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. It comes down. Okay? Let's keep going. The church, which is the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. Okay? The pillar and ground of the truth. The ecclesia, the church, preaches the truth, the witness. Okay? Turn to Matthew chapter 16. See, Yeshua is doing something with the stone, the whole scripture. Okay? And that's what I'm searching for. I'm following that stone that followed them. It follows the church. It walks among the church. Christ is always with us. That rock that followed them, and that rock is Christ, is anointed, is Messiah. Okay? Matthew chapter 16, verse 13. When Yeshua came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He saith unto them, But whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Yeshua answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. Okay? Flesh and blood did not reveal Messiah to Jacob, but the Father which is in heaven. He opened up the gate of heaven, the ladder, and Jehovah stood above it. It's revealed. Okay? Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Yeshua the Messiah. Okay? He says, Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. They were standing upon Mount Hermon, which is called Mount Sion. Behold, I lay in Sion a chief cornerstone. He's standing in Zion. He is the rock. Peter's professing that he's the Christ, the anointed stone, the anointed rock, and he's in Zion. And he says, upon this rock, this testimony of who I am, will I build my ecclesia. Okay? Look where he's at. Look who is he saying it to. How he's saying it to you. How he's saying, Simon Bar-Jonah, thy name is Peter, which means a rock in Greek. Okay? And he's saying, upon this rock I will build my ecclesia, my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Right there in Mount Hermon is where the fallen angels fell. And they call that pagan place, next to where Yeshua was, the gates of hell, or Gehenna. Okay? He is the rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. Remember the rock and the pillar. Okay? Turn to Exodus chapter 13. Exodus 13, verse 20. And they took their journey from Sukkot and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness. And Jehovah went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night, from before the people. Back in Matthew chapter 16, okay, when they go to the Mount of Transfiguration after Peter confesses that he's the Messiah, and Yeshua says, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. We just read Exodus where the pillar and cloud never departed from the children of Israel. It was a sign of authority and power from heaven. That right after Yeshua tells Peter these things, he goes up to the Mount Transfiguration, and what happens? A cloud descends. The pillar of the cloud descends. Okay? All these things are reoccurring patterns, reoccurring theme, and it's all showing you the gospel. Okay? The authority, the power, the exousia of Christ. What did Yeshua say? All power in heaven and earth is given unto me. Then he turns and he tells Peter, I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose in earth shall be loosed in heaven. So my last couple messages has been this. The true saints have power over the enemy. Okay? We started off in Psalm 54 saying, save me, O God, by thy name. Judge me by thy strength. For strangers are risen up against me. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth. Bind them. I give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Revelation, we read that the last 2 weeks. Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. Now is come the fulfillment, the true fullness of it. But we already have the power. Okay? Go back to Psalm 54 where we began. Alright, let's go back. Psalm 54, verse 1. Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O God, give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set God before them, Selah. Behold, God is mine helper. Jehovah is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth. I will freely sacrifice unto thee. I will praise thy name, O Jehovah, for it is good. For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye hath seen his desire upon mine enemies. The true church, the true saints, have all power and authority given unto them. Right? The rock we've studied is a place of judgment. It's a place of authority. All right? Since the very beginning, the strangers, the aliens, okay, those that are not genuine, the fakes, the hypocrites, the enemies, they've sought to usurp the true power of the saints. From Cain to Nimrod to Korah's rebellion against Moses to Saul, King Saul, who became estranged. He became estranged. To every evil king that ever took over Israel, to every usurper and tyrant that pretends they have authority in the earth, when the true power, exousia, has always been given to the saints. The keys, unto thee I give the keys of the kingdom of God. Whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. The true saints will always overcome. They shall never be moved. All right? Turn to Revelation chapter 3. And we'll close with this. Revelation chapter 3. Verse 7. And to the church, and to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength. We need more strength. We have a little strength. And has kept my word, and has not denied my name. Okay? Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. We have a crown waiting us. Him that overcometh will I make, listen, a pillar in the temple of my God. Remember Jacob? He takes the stone, he sets it up for a pillar, and he anoints it. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. This I have desired, and this will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Jehovah all the days of my life. All right, let's pray.